Good afternoon. Hello and thank you. Those of you in the back of the room, if you could come in and have a seat, we'd appreciate it. Good afternoon once again, and allow me to welcome you to the Alice Campbell Alumni Center and the 2010 annual meeting of Illinois Connection. My name is Lauren Taylor. I'm President and CEO of the University of Illinois Alumni Association. Before we begin with our program today, I'd like us to take just a moment to pause and reflect on the fellow citizens that we lost 9 years ago today on September 11th, including 5 Illinois alumni. So if you would join me for just one moment with a bit of silence, please. Thank you. Today we're going to hear from many special guests, including our new university president, Michael J. Hogan. We'll take a look back at Illinois Connection's accomplishments this past year and talk about some of the challenges and opportunities for Illinois Connection advocates next year. But before we proceed in that regard, I'd like to acknowledge some of our special guests. Let me begin by asking you to recognize the chairman of the Alumni Association's Board of Directors, Mr. Gary Chico. Gary? And we have several other Alumni Association board members here today. I'll read your names off rapidly, but would appreciate it if you would stand and be recognized as one. We have Colleen Callahan Burns, Dave Cocaine, Brett Coffey, Deborah Evans, Cal Lejeune, Tom Livingston, Donovan Pepper, Tom Vogelsinger, and Bo Jung. Welcome, everyone. We also have someone here who is near and dear to the hearts of alumni everywhere, a former chairman of the Alumni Association Board of Directors and currently a member of the Board of Trustees. President Hogan, forgive me if I'm stealing your thunder by introducing him for the first time. You may want to recognize him again. But we all know and love Ed McMillan. Let's say hello to Ed. And some special guests are here from the southern part of the state today. Please welcome the Chancellor of Southern Illinois University, Rita Chang, and her husband, Tom. Rita and Tom are here with my counterpart at Southern Illinois, the Executive Director of the SIU Alumni Association, Michelle Suarez. Michelle? And of course, you'll be hearing from him in a moment, but I'd like you to welcome for the first time President Mike Hogan. Mike. We're expecting several state legislators with us, and I know they had busy schedules and there are other things going on campus, so I will read their names. I'm not sure how many of them are here right now, but I do know one here to my left is with us, Representative Bill Black. Bill, welcome. Representative Naomi Jacobson. Naomi, have you arrived? Let's give her a round of applause anyway. And Senator Mike Frerichs. We would see Mike if he was here. He's 6'7". Round of applause for Michael, please. Representative John Cavaletto. Representative Al Riley. Senator Dale Reisinger and Senator John Sullivan. One more round of applause for all of them. Well, we appreciate having the elected officials with us today, and I know more will be arriving later. More importantly, though, we appreciate their strong support for the University of Illinois and higher education throughout the state of Illinois. I'd also like to introduce a special person to me, and that's my wife, Susan Taylor. And here today to announce his candidacy for governor of the great state of Illinois in about the year 2035, my 13-year-old son, JC. Had you going, didn't I? It's now my pleasure to introduce you to the chairman of the Alumni Association's Board of Directors, Gary Chico.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and a hearty welcome to all of you to our annual Illinois Connection meeting. We cannot take this room for granted at all because it wasn't here at one time. It's through the hard effort of Judy Babb-Traxel, who is here with us today, that we come to become a force to be reckoned with on the landscape, whether it be Springfield or Washington. But we certainly do have our work cut out for us, don't we? Higher education in general, the University of Illinois is right now slogging through some pretty tough financial times. Yesterday, our board of directors met on the Springfield campus of the University of Illinois, and we had the privilege of having Senator Bill Brady with us for a dialogue, question and answer session, and Senator Brady was very blunt when he said, it looks like more cuts are on the way. But I tell you, just as quickly as he said that, I think all of my colleagues on the board were heartened to hear our president, Michael Hogan, get engaged and talk about the future of the University of Illinois. And I think it's going to be a bright one because we have a great leader. And I can tell you further that your Alumni Association, together with the Illinois Connection organization, is going to have to support our president, our Board of Trustees, Ed McMillan, and what they seek to do to set the course right for the University of Illinois going forward. So I think the future is bright. Challenges are here in front of us right now, but the future certainly looks bright, thanks in large part to what you're doing. You don't have to be here, but you are. People come from all over the state of Illinois. In fact, what we're seeing is people coming from all over the country to help us, if not in person, then by means of technology, which we're happy to have, because it's going to take an effort with everybody that we can muster. We have 600,000 plus living alums around the world. In fact, one of my colleagues, Bo Zhang, Bo, can you stand up? From Beijing, China. That's the reach that our efforts are beginning to have. We're going to need to draw upon those connections in order to make our agenda successful. I now have the privilege of introducing to you a very powerful gentleman, a very warm gentleman, who I had the privilege to get to know when I served on the search committee for the new president for the University of Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming our 18th president, Mr. Michael J. Hogan. Mike.
Wow, I got to be impressed. I mean, it feels like Halloween here with all the orange in the room. And it's a great thing to see. I want to thank Gary, who's been a great friend from the time I first met him when he was on the search committee for the new president. And he's taken me under his wing. We've met a couple of times, including yesterday, where he ran a very business-like meeting, got us in the same time, out in the same time, and we got a lot done, and I came away totally impressed with what the Alumni Association is doing, has done, and can do for the University of Illinois. I want to also, just if you don't mind me, re-acknowledging our friend and colleague, Ed McMahon, who serves. I want to just stress for a second that I have the best board that you can imagine. A bunch of dedicated people, no agenda when they came in. They wrote their own agenda. They are writing their own agenda. They're reinventing the University of Illinois for a new day and a new time. They've established, and Ed is living proof of this, as well as Gary, a strong relationship with the Alumni Association and also with our foundation. And so between the foundation, the Alumni Association, the university, our board of trustees, we've got a very good leadership team right now that I think is equipped and prepared to deal with the crisis that's ahead. I wanted to especially mention Ed because, you know, he used to run this organization. He was chair. He's got a long history of involvement in this, and then he's living proof of the old adage that no good deed goes unpunished. So now he's been elevated, I guess we'll say that, too. And I talk to Ed on a regular basis. He's been a very strong supporter of mine, and I'm grateful for that. I want to also, of course, I just met some people behind us here, including Tom yesterday. Oh, he was fired up, Tom. He was ready. He's ready to go with this connection thing, and we're ready to let him go. There's one president in the room I did want to acknowledge. That's President David Olson. I see him right there. David, would you stand up here? He's a student today, but alumni tomorrow, right, David? And David runs student government here on the Urbana campus. He's been very gracious in trying to get me involved and connected with the students here. Time goes by, you stay in these jobs, the students stay the same age, you get a little older. But every day they make you feel energized, and every day they remind you what it's really all about and why all of us are here. You know, we have very, very challenging times. My wife was looking at my remarks today, and she was saying, and most of you will get to see her a little later, she was saying, you know, you don't want to be so negative. And, but I can't help myself, you know. I'm Irish, so I'm either very happy or not, you know. And the state's financial situation, it means to the university, isn't the best of news. You've heard all the numbers before. We haven't even got the money yet for fiscal year 2010. We're 2 months, going on 3 months into fiscal year 2011. We're still $120 million owed to us from the state from 2010. We've been appropriated a budget for 2011, fiscal year 2011, the same as 2010, but before we received a penny of that, we had a cut of $47 million. By the way, I want to make this point to you because it's a very, very important point. We raised tuition last year by 9.5% on the incoming freshman class. Nobody likes to do that. That brought us in about $47 million. And within 2 months, we had a cut of almost the exact amount of money to the penny. So don't kid yourself. As state support goes down, the university looks to maintain its quality. And this is a high-tone university, let me tell you that. It's top of the pile. We look to maintain our position, maintain our quality, maintain the value of the degree that we're offering our students by looking to other revenue streams. And this year, for the very first time in the history of this great university, the revenue we're collecting from tuition exceeds the amount of money we're receiving in state appropriations. Think about that. And I don't think those lines will ever, they're intersected, they'll never go back again. This is part of a long-term trend in American higher education, sometimes referred to as the privatization of American higher education, that goes all the way back to 1970. Just in the last 6 or 7 years. 6 or 7 years ago, we had a state appropriation of $805 million. Not nearly enough, but looks good today, I'll tell you that. This year, we're down to somewhere around $670, $680 million. If you add that up, the accumulated value of that since about 2002, we're about $1 billion short of where we could have been. And we were just with one of the governor candidates yesterday who you know, sticks by his vow that every state agency, including higher education, will have to take about a 10% cut. That's another $100 million in fiscal year 12 when we lose the protection of the ARRA. Another $100 million and probably another $100 million or close to it the year after. So that means in about 7 years we've gone from $805 million to barely $500 million in state support. That's why people say we're no longer a state-supported university. We're not even much of a state-assisted university. We're a state-located university and a heavily, heavily state-regulated university. And we have to find out, and you know, the implications of that are clear, as I just pointed out. State support goes down, tuition goes up, access declines. We are in a highly competitive market. People don't think of this, they don't think of higher education as a business. We don't like to talk about it as a business, but we are in a very, very competitive market, a global market, and we're competing day in and day out for the very best students like David Olson. And we're competing day in and day out for the very best members of the faculty. Just think if you have, just say, an engineer, just to take or maybe somebody in nanotechnology or one of the life sciences, got a big, big lab. We've invested heavily in the research enterprise he runs. He has major NIH grants. Those grants help underwrite the support of graduate students and research fellows who come here. They work on inventions. Those inventions get commercialized into real value. It brings state income to the state and jobs to the state and so on. We haven't paid that faculty member for 2 years. And on top of that, we've given them furloughs. So they've actually had a very, very substantial cut in their salaries. And you got a top-notch, this is a top-notch university, you got an engineering college in the top 5, computer science right up there. You can't go very many places and find people like this, and they, no matter how bad the economy is, they are marketable. They can go. And guess what? It costs, if you give them a 5% raise and maybe invest a little more in their lab, it might cost you $50,000, $100,000. If they go, they'll take $1 million in research grants with them, and all of the jobs that they support, gone forever. So it's penny wise and pound foolish. And we did point out to one of the governor candidates yesterday, Senator Brady, that for every penny we get from the state of Illinois, we give back, we generate in direct and indirect economic impact, $17 for the state. If we were a stock on the stock exchange, we'd be blue chip and people will be opening their wallets like crazy to invest in us, and the state should do that too. So I think the implications of the trend line that we've been on since 1970, and it's accelerated, believe me, in the recent Great Recession, tells us more than ever that we need people like those of you in the room here. I am so grateful for what the alumni of this university do, and I'm grateful for this particular group that stepped up from 800 to almost 8,000 in just 2 years. We have organizing geniuses here, and they are going to be the voices of advocacy that we need now. So as the sign, there was a sign up here later that said, write your legislature. I'm telling you, write them every day. Unfortunately, we're not going to have Bill to be writing, but we never really had to write him too much anyway. He was a good friend. But write them every day. Remind them that it's important to you if you live in Illinois that you not be part of the first generation in the history of this great state that has seen this university slip backwards. It took 5 generations of hard-working, tax-paying Illinois people to build one of the great universities, not in the nation, one of the great universities in the world. 5 generations of consistent effort, and they were proud of it. But it can take just 1 generation to wipe it out. As you can see, I feel very strongly about this. I spent my whole life, I wasn't born to the University of Illinois. I worked like a slave my whole life, climbing all the way to the top to one of the great universities, and I don't want to see it slip. So we need your help. We need your help day and night. We need you to write your legislatures, ask strong questions to the gubernatorial candidates, send a letter to the editor, talk to your neighbors, learn about what's going on at your great university, and educate all the people around you about how important it is to the future of this state that we keep the University of Illinois at the top of the pile. I'm very grateful because I know that's exactly what you're going to do. Thank you very much. You know, there's the old saying, I'm on to the next event, but I know I'll see you. I know I'll see all of you, many of you, in a few more minutes. And then, of course, at the game. Go Illini. Let's go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Hogan. And before Lisa Troyer walks out of the room, I just want her to wave. She's President Hogan's Chief of Staff and an instrumental part of our advocacy effort. So thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon. My name is Amy Eichhorst, and I've met many of you, but not all of you. So I'm Director of Illinois Connection, and a personal thank you for being here and for all that you've done throughout the year. I want to take a moment and just introduce some of my university partners. We work together as a team on our advocacy strategy, and I see many